is, will Israel attack Iran's nuclear sites? Remember, this is a question that arises after the developments over the last 24 hours after Iran's missile attack targeting Israel. Could Israel dare to attack Iran's nuclear sites and take such an extreme step? Now, at any other time, it would be hard to accept that it actually could. But the thing is, that's not the Israel of today. The Israel of today is led by a belligerent Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. That is what his critics are calling him, belligerent. In fact, just a few hours ago, Israel has declared the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres as persona non grata and barred him from entering the country over what they call his failure to unequivocally condemn Iran's missile attack on Israel. So Israel is clearly going all out. Let's just take a step back here. What does the bigger picture look like right now? Israel and Iran have never been closer to opening up a new and far more dangerous front in the conflict that has engulfed West Asia after Iran's missile attack last night. Israeli officials are staring down an all-out regional war. On Tuesday, Iran fired nearly 200 missiles into Israel, and in response, Israel has vowed retaliation at a place and time decided by them. Israeli officials are reportedly preparing to launch a significant retaliation. The question is, what will the revenge look like? As of now, it's hard to tell, but reports today do say that Iran's oil facilities could likely be targeted. Taking out Iran's air defense systems could be another possibility. Others say that targeted assassinations of key figures could be Israel's response. The Israeli response could include airstrikes from fighter jets as well as secret operations similar to the one that killed Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran over 2 months ago. But there is a fourth option for Israel, the thought of which has everyone on the edge of their seats. It's the possibility of Israel striking Iran's nuclear sites. Although Israel has historically targeted Iran's nuclear program through relatively limited sabotage, through cyber attacks, assassinations of scientists, now Israel may see this as an opportunity to target Iran's nuclear facilities directly. You see, aside from the fact that Israel has long seen Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat, when tensions came to a head last between Israel and Iran in the month of April this year, Israel, remember, carried out a strike on Iran's military site located in close proximity to the Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center. It hosts nuclear research reactors, a uranium conversion plant, and a fuel production plant, among other facilities. Although Israel's attack did not target Iran's nuclear facilities directly, reports suggested that Israel was considering such attacks. And what does that tell you? Well, it basically tells us that Israel is not going to shy away from such a catastrophic move. Iran's nuclear sites will present a tempting target for Israel, tempting but dangerous, to say the least. On Tuesday, Iran threatened that if Israel responds with force to Tuesday's attack, Iran will attack again. And if that happens, Israeli officials say all options will be on the table. And what is apparent is that this time around, Israeli retaliation will be much more significant. The Israeli Security Cabinet convened on Tuesday at an underground government bunker inside a mountain near Jerusalem. This meeting started as the first wave of the Iranian ballistic missiles made its way towards Israel. Israel says that many of the Iranian missiles were intercepted by Israeli and American missile defense systems. But those that weren't mostly hit open areas near an Air Force base in southern Israel. In fact, one of the ballistic missiles that Iran fired last night landed near the Tel Aviv headquarters of the Israeli intelligence service, Mossad. At the top of the Israeli Security Cabinet meeting, Netanyahu signaled Israel's next move. Listen in.
Iran made a big mistake tonight, and it will pay for it. The regime in Iran does not understand our determination to defend ourselves and our determination to retaliate against our enemies. Sinwar and Dev didn't understand it. Nasrallah or Mohsen didn't understand it. Apparently, there are those in Tehran who do not understand this either. They will understand. We will keep to the rules we have determined. Whoever attacks us, we attack them.
Now, according to reports, 2 Israeli officials said the cabinet meeting ended after several hours with the understanding that there will be an Israeli military response, but without a clear decision on what that response will actually be. Reports also say that behind the scenes, Israeli officials are still consulting with the Biden administration. Israel is widely expected to respond on its own, but wants to coordinate its plans with the United States because of the strategic implications of the situation. That is because if Iran attacks Israel again, an Israeli retaliation would require defensive cooperation with the US Central Command, more munitions for the Israeli Air Force, and other kinds of US operational support. What does the US have to say about all this? Well, US President Joe Biden called Iran's attack ineffective and said that the US and Israel are currently discussing the response to Iran's attack.
We expect it. Make no mistake, the United States is fully supportive of Israel. And I've been spent the morning and part of the afternoon in the Situation Room and meeting with my whole national security team and consulting with the Israelis indirectly because in terms of their impact on us. And the national security team has been, as I said, in constant contact with Israeli officials and their counterparts. Right now, we've got to get all the data straight. We've been in constant contact with the Israeli government and our counterparts, and that remains to be seen.
In talks between the Biden administration and the Israeli government, the US has made it clear that it supports an Israeli response, but Washington has also maintained that Israeli response needs to be measured. Surely, a direct Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear sites cannot be put in the same category as measured. Far from it. So can the Israeli response be expected to be measured? We only ask that because over the course of the war in Gaza and the subsequent rise in hostilities between Israel and Iran's proxies in the region, Israel has rarely listened to the US. At least that is what it seems like. And if Israel chooses to target Iran's nuclear sites, the move will basically lead to a serious, catastrophic escalation. Even a limited strike on Iran's nuclear program could lead Israel to consider a large-scale military operation. This operation, however, would certainly result in an all-out, highly destructive war between Iran and Israel, a war that is most likely to drag other regional factions as well as the US in the conflict. Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities would need to be spread out across Iran. That would require the suppression of Iranian air defenses. That operation would also need attacks on ballistic missile and other military sites to be carried out. Why? Because as soon as Israel launches a strike, missiles would be Iran's first response. Conversely, if Israel attacks Iran's underground facilities, Israel would basically require weapons capable of penetrating several dozen meters of rock before exploding inside the facilities. The only conventional weapon that could do that? The American GBU 57AB massive ordnance penetrator. The bombs can only be carried by large American bombers like the B-2 Spirit. And as you can see, this kind of tactical response requires hitting several targets and all at the same time. Israel cannot do this alone. It will require extensive US support, if not direct involvement. And given America's rather ambiguous policy as far as West Asia is concerned, whether or not that will happen is hard to tell at this point. Which brings us back to that big question. Will Israel attack Iran's nuclear sites? The next 24 hours will tell us more. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.